because she realized how evil Adora could be. She didn't want anything to happen to her unborn baby. Back in the palace, Adora's grief gradually turned into determination. She was desperate to secure her place as the queen, and she knew another child was her only chance. She began to shower the king with affection, hoping to rebuild his trust and love. Months later, Adora announced she was pregnant again. The news brought relief and joy to the kingdom. But this pregnancy carried a dark secret, a secret known only to Adora and one of the palace servants who used to be her lover before she married the king. Adora tried to get pregnant for the king for months, but it wasn't happening, so her desperation pushed her back into the arms of her ex-lover. While the king celebrated that his queen was pregnant again, suspicion began to arise among the palace staff. Adora's frequent private meetings with the servant named Ekene did not go unnoticed. One evening, as Adora walked through the palace gardens, she was approached by Amaka, her loyal but cunning servant. "Your Majesty," Amaka said cautiously, "are you certain the king will not question the timing of this pregnancy?" Adora's face hardened. "He will not question anything. This child will be his heir, and that is all that matters." Amaka hesitated, "But if anyone discovers—" "No one will discover anything because there is nothing to be discovered." Adora snapped. "Keep your mouth shut or you will regret it." Amaka nodded, but her loyalty wavered. Meanwhile, in her father's house, Nna's pregnancy progressed. She later gave birth to a baby boy, whom she named Chibueze, meaning God is King. The child was the spitting image of his father, King Obina, and Nna knew that one day the truth would have come to light. One evening, as she cradled her son, an elder from the village visited her. He was a wise man who had served as an advisor to the late king, Obina's father. "Queen Nna," he said, bowing slightly, "the kingdom is suffering under Adora's rule. The queen grows restless and the king is blind to her true nature. You must prepare yourself, for your time will come again." Nna looked at him with determination. "I will not give up. For the sake of my son and the kingdom, I will return." As Adora's pregnancy progressed, her behavior became more erratic. She clung to the king, showering him with affection in public, but treating the servants with increasing cruelty. Only Ekene, her lover, was spared. As time passed, Ekene grew nervous, fearing that their secret would be exposed, as he was being given preferential treatment by the queen. One fateful night, Ekene confronted Adora in her chambers. "My queen," he whispered urgently, "we cannot keep this secret forever. Oh. What if the king finds out?" Adora's eyes flashed with anger. "You will say nothing, Ekene. If you value your life, you will stay silent." But unknown to them, Amaka has been eardropping. A wicked smile spread across her face as she realized she now held the power to control Adora's fate. Her suspicion has been right after all. One quiet evening, as Adora lounged in her chambers, savoring a cup of warm palm wine, Amaka slipped in silently. Her usually meek demeanor was replaced with a small confidence that caught Adora's attention. "Amaka, what do you want at this hour?" Adora asked sharply, annoyed by the infusion. Amaka smiled slightly. "I only came to inform my queen that I've been listening closely." Adora's brow furrowed. "Listening to what exactly?" she asked. "To you and Ekene," Amaka replied, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "Your little secret about the baby. Imagine what would happen if the king knew the truth. Adora's heart sank, and she froze for a moment before regaining her composure. "You wouldn't dare, Amaka," she said. "Oh, but I might," Amaka said, her smile widening. "Unless, of course, you ensure that my loyalty is well rewarded." Adora's fist clenched. "Okay then, what do you want?" Amaka leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Power, gold, influence, and a place in the palace where no one dares question me." Amaka's threats left Adora in a constant state of fear. Every knock on the door made her heart race. Every whispered conversation in the palace sent shivers down her spine. She began to avoid Ekene entirely, terrified that their secret would slip out. One day, as Adora walked through the gardens, she spotted Amaka talking with a group of servants. They laughed and nodded, casting glances in Adora's direction. Paranoia gripped her, and she rushed back to her chambers, her mind spinning with thoughts of betrayal. Unknown to Adora, the potion effect on King Obina had begun to wear off. Little by little, his memories of Nna began to resurface. Am I losing my mind? One morning, as he sat in the throne room, his thoughts drifted to Nna's laughter, her gentle touch, and the way she used to sing to him on quiet nights. The memories felt so vivid, so real, that he found himself questioning why he had sent her away in the first place. But the feeling grew stronger each day. He started noticing Adora's faults, the way she belittled the servants, her sudden fits of rage, and her lack of empathy for the people. The love he once felt for her began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of regrets. Amaka, emboldened by Adora's fear, became bolder in her demands. She began requesting expensive jewelry, fine clothes, even a larger room in the palace. One evening, she confronted Adora in the middle of the palace corridors. "My queen," she said loudly enough for nearby servants to hear, "don't forget our little agreement. It would be a shame if the king learned the truth about the baby." Adora's eyes darted around, panic flashing across her face. She grabbed Amaka by the arm and dragged her into a secluded corner. "Keep your voice down, Amaka." "Then keep me happy," Amaka replied. King Obina began to notice Adora's strange behavior. She was no longer confident, radiant woman he thought he had fallen in love with. Instead, she seemed nervous, distracted, and constantly looking over her shoulder. "Adora," he said as they sat together in their chambers one night, "what's troubling you? You seem different." Adora forced a smile. "Nothing, my king. I am just overwhelmed with excitement about the baby." Obina studied her closely, his doubts growing. "Are you sure that's all?" "Yes, my king," Adora replied. But King Obina wasn't convinced. His instinct told him there was more to the story, and he resolved to find out the truth. Meanwhile, in her father's house, Nna had grown stronger and more determined. She spent her days caring for her son Chibueze, her heart aching for her people. "I will return," she told them, "but not yet. The time must be right." The palace had become a boiling pot of secrets and lies, with Adora at the center of it all. Amaka, emboldened by her newfound influence, grew increasingly brazen in her threats and demands. She squeezed every ounce of luxury and power she could get from Adora, but her greed had no limits. She wanted more and more, and when Adora had no more to offer, she decided to spill her secrets to the servants. One fateful day, as Amaka lounged in her newly decorated chambers, She called upon a group of servants to deliver her message to the king. The servants were reluctant but obeyed, whispering among themselves as if they approached the throne room. "My king," one servant said cautiously, bowing low, "we have troubling information about the queen." King Obina, already plagued by doubts and the faint echoes of the fading potion, leaned forward. "Speak," he commanded. His voice was sharp. The servant hesitated, glancing at his companions before continuing. "It is said by Amaka that Queen Adora's child may not be yours, my king." The throne room felt silence. The words struck Obina like a thunderclap. He dismissed the servants and ordered a private meeting with Amaka, who had been eagerly waiting for the moment. When Amaka arrived, she bowed dramatically before the king. "My king, I bring you the truth that has been hidden from you." "Speak plainly," Obina said, his voice cold. Amaka said, "My king, the child Queen Adora carries is not yours. It belongs to the servant Ekene. I overheard their conversations myself, and she made you chase the queen away. She added love potion to your drink." Obina's face darkened with anger and disbelief. "Do you have proof?" "Summon Ekene," Amaka replied confidently. His guilt will show on his face. Ekene was dragged into the throne room trembling with fear. Adora, unaware of the events unfolding, was summoned. When she arrived, her face turned pale at the sight of Ekene kneeling before the king. "What is the meaning of this?" Adora demanded. Obina rose from his throne, his towering presence silencing the room. "Adora, I demand the truth. Is the child in your womb mine?" Adora stammered, her carefully constructed lies crumbling. Of course, my king. How could you doubt me?" But Obina's piercing gaze bore into her, and Ekene, unable to bear the pressure, broke down. "My king, please forgive me," Ekene cried. "The child is mine, but I swear it was never my intention to betray you." "Adora!" "Silence!" Obina roared. Adora fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "My king, please. I only wanted to secure my place in the palace as queen. Forgive me." But Obina's heart already hardened and was filled with disappointment and rage. The Council of Elders had a meeting that same day, and it was decided that Adora and Ekene would be banished from the kingdom. The punishment was announced publicly in the village square, where crowd gathered to witness the downfall of the once proud queen. As Adora and Ekene were escorted out of the palace, villagers cheered in excitement and also insulted them. "Shame on you, Adora," one woman shouted. "You betrayed the king and the kingdom. You are a shameless adulteress. Leave and never return, you evil woman." A man yelled, throwing a handful of dirt at her. Adora clung to Ekene, her face streaked with tears and dirt. When they reached the edge of the village, the guards cast them out, their belongings scattered on the ground. Adora turned back one last time, her eyes meeting Obina from a distance. She saw no sympathy, only cold resolve and hatred. That night, Obina sat alone in his chambers, the weight of his mistakes pressing heavily on him. He thought of Nna, her kindness, her wisdom, her unwavering love. He buried his face in his hands. "What have I done?" he whispered to himself. The memories of Nna grew stronger with each passing day. He began to recall the moments they shared, the sacrifices she made, and her selflessness in suggesting he marry Adora. Obina summoned his most trusted advisor. "I must bring Nna back," he said. "She is the true queen of this kingdom." The advisor hesitated. "It will not be easy, my king. She has been wronged deeply. I know, Obina replied, his voice heavy with regrets. But I must carry myself and try to bring my queen back. I cannot allow my pride to keep her away any longer. Meanwhile, in her father's home, Nena was living in peace. Her son Chibueze had grown into a healthy, bright child. The villagers adored her, and she continued to lead with grace and wisdom, even in her exile. When news of Adora's banishment reached her, Nena felt a pang of pity, but also a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the beginning of justice. King Obina had resolved to correct his mistakes and make amends with his true queen, Nna. The decision was met with approval by the Council of Elders, who admired his humility in seeking to reunite with the queen he had wronged. On a bright morning, King Obina dressed in his finest traditional attire befitting the occasion, accompanied by the kingdom's elders and guards, carrying gifts of kola nuts, yams, wrappers and beads. The king set out for Nnena's father's house. As they approached the modest home, the villagers gathered, murmuring in awe. Obina stepped out of his royal chariot, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. He knew he had much to atone for. Nnena's father, Chief Okoro, came out to greet the entourage, his expression unreadable. Igwe, what brings you to my humble home? Obina bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. I have come to beg for forgiveness and to right the wrongs I have done to your daughter. Chief Okoro nodded slowly and gestured for them to enter. King Obina's humbleness softened his heart. Inside the house, Nnena sat with her son Chibueze, who was now almost 2 years old. When she saw Obina enter, her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't seen him in years, and though the sight of him brought back painful memories, she couldn't ignore the sincerity in his eyes. Nna, King Obina began, his voice trembling. I have come to beg for your forgiveness. I was blinded by deceit, and I failed to see the treasure I had in you. Please come back to the palace. You are the true queen of my kingdom. Nnena's eyes filled with tears. Obina, you broke my heart. You chose another over me and sent me away. How can I trust you again? Before Obina could respond, little Chubeze toddled forward, clutching Nnena's wrapper. Mama, Mama, he blabbed innocently, looking up at the king with wide eyes. Obina's gaze shifted to the boy, and his breath caught in his throat. The resemblance was unmistakable. You had a child? Were you pregnant back then? Is he my son? His voice barely above a whisper. Nena nodded. Yes, his name is Chibueze. He is your son. Tears streamed down King Obina's face as he knelt before the boy. My son, he said, his voice breaking. I never knew that you were pregnant. I am so sorry for everything. Please find a place in your heart to forgive me. The little boy looked at his mother, who nodded encouragingly. Chibueze then placed his tiny hand on King Obina's cheek and tried to wipe away his tears. The room was silent except for the sound of sniffles as everyone watched the emotional moment unfold. Obina spent the rest of the day with Nnena and her family, expressing his deep regrets and sharing stories with his son. By evening, Nnena finally agreed to return to the palace, but only after Obina promised to treat her with the respect and love she deserved. The king returned to the palace and immediately began preparations for a grand celebration. Drummers, dancers, and musicians were summoned, and the palace was adorned with flowers and colorful decorations. The entire kingdom buzzed with excitement as news spread of the queen's return. On the day of the celebration, the palace gates were thrown open to welcome people from far and wide. Obina personally went to escort Nna and his son back to the palace, riding in a golden chariot, surrounded by dancing and singing villagers. As they arrived, the people cheered, throwing flowers in their paths. Nna stepped out of the chariot, radiant in her royal attire, with Chibueze in her arms. Obina held her hand, his eyes filled with pride and love. The king addressed the crowd. Today we celebrate not just the return of my queen, but also my son, but the reunion of my family. Let this be a lesson to us all to value those who truly love us and to seek forgiveness when we err. The people roared with approval as Obina lifted Chibueze onto his shoulders, declaring him the heir to the throne. That night, the palace was filled with laughter, music, and joy. King Obina and Queen Nna sat side by side, watching Chibueze play with other children in the courtyard. I will never take you for granted again, King Obina said, holding Queen Nna's hand. And I will always stand by you, my king. Nna replied, her heart finally at peace. Their love tested by betrayal and hardship emerged stronger than ever. Together, they ruled the kingdom with wisdom and compassion, ensuring peace and prosperity for generations to come. And that was how the story ended.
Thank you so much for listening to this story at Folklore Chronicles stories. And please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button, turn on the notification so when I post more stories like this, you'll be the first to get them. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate your support and I do not take it for granted at all. Until I see you in my next video. Bye.